but still very just physical qualities and still big numbers. And the aim of this was to get down to about 60 athletes that were going to go forward in canoeing. Phase 3 was really screening physio, what was their shoulders like, were they strong in the abs and hips. There was some psychological screening. Did they have the basic components as we understand them to be good in sport? This was literally just to show them the positions, the position, and when you've got people coming along that are 18, 19, 20 and they've never seen a canoe, this just looks really strange and feels really strange. And then phase 4, and this got developed for UK sport with other sports as a really key component, is that then when you get the athletes down to, I think we had 16, 20 athletes, you needed time in the sport and you needed to see whether it was a good fit for them and whether they were a good fit for us. And in that stage, it's much more about how do they learn, do they enjoy on the water, are they just petrified of the water, like all these things that I think for the most part in here when you, as I did, started paddling when you were 5, 6, 7 years old, it gets weeded out, and you don't have to think about these things when we get to this stage with these athletes. We definitely had a couple of, they were just scared of the water. So that, in some instances, was the decision made of whether they carry on. Okay, so that's a whistle-stop tour of the first part of the GPG process. And for context, this started with them signing up in about November 2013, and by August of 2014, this process was finished, and we decided to take on, between kayak and canoe, 14 athletes in that first process. Yeah? And I mention that because everything from now on, the athletes that I talk about, the athletes that I coach, they started learning to paddle in August 2014. Okay, so understanding the athlete and person. So my starting point with this was you've got an athlete in front of you, but they're 5'8", 5'10" tall. Yeah, they've got all these really great physical qualities, and that we've seen them in the tests, so they could do this and this and this. But who are they? Because I think that who they are as people is really fundamental to them, what their motivation is. Johnny was, I think, brilliant yesterday talking about how interacting with the sport, like what do they want to get out of it. And I think unless you understand these things, I don't think you get the most out of an athlete day to day. It's my opinion. So I put behaviours, and it can have some negative connotations in the English language in our system, but I mean it in the most positive way of can we, if we can understand who they are and understand what motivates them, we'll understand the behaviours that we witness, and that could be, I'll try and use some examples to make this real. We had one athlete that was at one point crying every single day during the first 6 months of the process. Still crying, was still crying in about 3 times a week when we were a year, 18 months into the process. And I think at first that was, they're maybe not strong enough, they haven't got what it takes to be an athlete. And when we really dug down into it, and we used some principles from psychiatry, so actually trying to formulate and understand the person. Yeah, she was homesick. Yeah, she'd had to move a long way from home. She had really tight connections with her family. Her family were a big family, and suddenly she was isolated, and she had no support network. So every little thing, every challenge that she faced day to day in training with us, when she'd been at home, she talked to her mom. Yeah, which seems really normal. That's our support network. We've moved her into a centralised system. It was the first time she moved away from home, and she had nobody to talk to. So the behaviour we witnessed was not something that we wanted, but not something that we wanted not for just a performance. But why would you want to see somebody in tears every day? So what was the behaviour we wanted in that example? We wanted somebody that was happy to be there and wanted to go training and could open up and talk to some other people, whether that was coach, psychologist, other athletes. It didn't matter, but we just needed to help her create that support network for herself. Again, I think Johnny hit this one on the head yesterday. If you're in his talk around why did these girls, these women that we brought in, why did they want to do it? Because they didn't want to do it because they enjoyed paddling. Because at least not at the beginning, because they hadn't paddled. Yeah, and I think Johnny's journey, my journey was. Hope some of you guys, if you paddled your journey, was that you fell in love with the sport, and you got a little bit better, and you got a little bit better, and then maybe the top end of the sport looked possible, so then it was, I want to be successful, but I want to be successful in canoeing or kayaking, because that's what I love doing. We did it the other way around. The Girls for Gold is in the title. We want you to win a medal. Come win a medal in any sport when it was the big process. So what was their motivation? At least in part was maybe to challenge themselves. It was to try something new. It was definitely a dream of an Olympics or being at a really high level. But it wasn't defined as in canoeing. So I think that there was a huge part in you needed to understand what their motivation was for being there, so then we could link it and then try and take them on that journey, and they did then fall in love with canoeing. Because I think, as Johnny said yesterday, the amount of days that you've got to suffer and train through rubbish conditions, tough times, you need to be loving what you're doing, because it's not possible.